What's up, YouTube? Welcome back to Content Talks. My name is Austin Savage. I am the founder of Austin Savage & Co. And here we are, chatting about content. Talking about content. I guess that would be more on brand, huh? Hey, I've heard a question a few times, and just recently I was on a call with a potential client. He asked me the same question, and finally it just struck me. I was like, you know what? I should create some content about this. And here was his question. He said, I do multiple things. Like, as a person, I have multiple different, initiatives and things that I'm starting. And he was just really getting into social media. Like, he was just starting his platform. So he said, do I need multiple accounts for each of those different things that I do? Because each of them have a unique audience. So for this client specifically, it was a unique situation. He was a speaker and a leadership coach for church leaders, and he also is a volunteer firefighter. So he had a whole other podcast and platform that he built for first responders. In addition to that, he had some general courses and things that he was developing for people like in general that wasn't specific to one of those two audiences. He did a lot of things. But my answer to him was no, you don't need multiple accounts to be able to engage those audiences. Probably 80% of the time, my answer would be probably not. Because especially when you're starting out, what you would end up doing is diversifying too far your core audience and the people who are interested in you and what you do, rather than bringing together those audiences to build up a stronger and more robust platform. So for him, what we would need to do is build out a strong personal platform for him where he shares about all of that stuff, about both of his podcasts, about new courses that he's developing, about insights for each of those uniquely, because honestly, they do interweave a little bit, but they also stand alone, and it gives people who are in the first responder audience and it gives people who are in the church leader audience unique insights into who he is as a person. But that's not always the case. There are really great times when it's better for you to actually create a platform, to create an account that stands alone for something that you do. Let me give you an example. I host the People of Peoria podcast in my local community. We highlight the stories of the people in our area, business owners, people who are making a difference, all of those things. I share about that from my personal account, but if I had not created accounts for that podcast to stand on its own, it would not have been as effective because it was a movement in my community. And so I wanted to make sure that it was positioned less about me and more about my community and the podcast itself. So it comes down to strategy. Is there a strategic enough reason for you to diversify and complicate your efforts that you're going to see a higher return if this product or if this service or if this initiative stands on its own than if it's just connected to you as a brand? So let me give you some examples of times that you may want to create another account. Number one would be for a separate business or organization. If you have a business or a nonprofit that really does stand alone, that it's not just wrapped up in you, that you are kind of the business or the organization, then that is a great time that they should have their own accounts. They should have their own standalone presence in addition to yours online. Another time that it may be worth it is if it's a standalone brand. Like, even if it's not a full-blown business, like my podcast, that is a brand that I'm trying to develop within my community. I desire for it to run separate from me and be its own thing. And so I'm trying to develop it as a brand. And in order to do that, you have to position it as a brand by giving it its own account online. Now, third reason would be if you're creating an initiative or a movement, whether that's to lead positive change in your local community or whether that is just to raise awareness about a certain subject or anything like that. If you, again, are creating something that is an initiative that can stand on its own, right? It's really defining its own brand, then that is an opportunity that it might be worth separating it from you. But for example, if you're looking at something that is just a product or a service that you offer, then it doesn't need its own account because it's trying to serve your overall brand or your business's overall brand. If you have a podcast that exists to support your business and talk about the things that your business is thinking through and aspects of your industry, then it likely doesn't need its own account because it's so interwoven with the day-to-day of your brand. From your personal account, you talk about everything. You talk about everything that you do. However complicated it is, you share about all of it because people are going to pick and choose what relates to them. And it's okay if one piece of content you share doesn't relate to one segment of your audience. It's fine. Tomorrow you'll share one that does. And you're giving people a greater perspective of who you are. So from your personal account, you share about all of it. And only when there's a strategic reason to build up a separate brand or initiative do you create a separate account to support that movement or that brand. Shared about this in the last video, but it's important to simplify as much as we can. So we have to always be thinking about what we can actually handle from a capacity perspective with the strategic opportunities that we might be able to add to that capacity to see greater impact in the long run. So do you need multiple accounts? 80% of the time, probably not. But in that 20%, there could be some really strategic opportunities that merit building up a separate brand. Thank you for watching today. If this was helpful, I hope you'll hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, ring the little bell so that you never miss a future video that I put out. Try to put out 2 new videos every single week to help you on your content marketing journey. So I will see you next time.